series. It's called Doubt You Can. And man, I'm really excited to preach this because I want to be honest with you. I mean, it's doubt is a part of our faith. And I feel like a lot of us sometimes struggle when we struggle with doubt. I feel like we're like, well, I can't feel this way or act this way, or, I'm not a good Christian if I doubt. Well, the truth is doubt is a part of Christianity. It is actually a big part of Christianity. So my goal, my objective for this entire series of the next few weeks is to not make you believe that you can't doubt ever again. No, that's not actually the motive here. The motive is not, you just have to have faith, brother. No, it's not. I'm not Hulk Hogan. I'm not here to preach that. I'm here to help you navigate your doubt. I'm here to help you walk through your doubt. I'm here to help you make sure that when doubt comes and when things are happening in your world and things are frustrating and overwhelming and God, where are you? And God, what about this? And God, why is this happening? And God, why did this allow to happen? God, why are these people over here getting this, but I'm not getting this and they're getting this? All of those questions, all of those things that lead us to go, God, why? God, why? God, why? I believe that this series is going to help us to not just bear it, to just go through it, to just knuckle down and say, all right, I'm just going to fake it till I make it. No, I want to help us navigate through doubt because God has something that he wants to do through our doubt. And so this series, Doubt You Can, is going to be wrapped up in all of that, saying, God, I might feel this way, but I know that you are still God. I know that you are. I know that you are. And this is the thing, can I be honest? There's a lot of stuff that's very cliche that you're going to hear in this series. Because here's the thing, it's cliche because it's truth. I want to be honest with you, but there's also going to be some stuff that I feel like I'm going to unpack in a way that's going to be maybe eye-opening, maybe a little bit different than maybe you've heard before, but I believe that it's going to set us free. It's going to send us into where exactly it is that we need to be. And so, Doubt You Can, a series on doubting God. I'm super excited. So today, I am speaking on a topic, and it's called Doubt Festers. Doubt Festers, that's the name of this title today. Because festering, something that continues to fester and to go on and to move forward, is something that can become a very negative thing. When we constantly just dwell on the doubt and we dwell on the things that we're uncertain about and the things that frustrate us, it leads us to festering, which leads us to more and more and more doubt, to the point where even when you hear the truth, you begin to scoff at it. You become numb, you become callous to it, and you go, even though I hear the truth, I don't want to listen anymore. I believe that we allow ourselves to get there. So I want to tackle this topic, and I want to go through this today, and I want to make sure that we do this. So doubt. I want to talk about doubt, that word, all right? I looked it up in the dictionary. I was feeling good, so I was like, all right, dictionary.com, let's type in doubt, let's see what happens. And so doubt is a feeling of uncertainty or a lack of conviction, all right? So a feeling of uncertainty and a lack of conviction. So that means the opposite of doubt is that I am certain and I have a conviction. That's what the opposite of doubt is. And I feel like a lot of us, it's a little bit hard, especially in 2022, to feel certain about things and to have a conviction about things. Because let's get real, life is a roller coaster, right? It's really hard to be certain when life is full of absolute uncertainties. The only thing that I can promise for certain is that uncertainty is going to happen. You know what I mean? That's for certain. It's a roller coaster. Up, down, all around, loop-de-loop. It's literally like the Steel Phantom. All right? Steel Phantom, baby. Summer's here, baby. Who's going to Kennywood this year? Who is going to be sad that they went to Kennywood this year? Exactly. All right, so Kennywood, all right, I got to get real. The Steel Phantom, when I was younger, okay, was heaven on earth, all right? It was the coolest thing ever, but I remember, all right, I went to Kennywood. It was just me and my mom. And something you got to do about my mom, Sherry Chambers. She is crazy. All right? Am I getting an amen over there, Anna? All right, cool. So my wife is great. Everybody, sorry. She's... Classic, right? That's so something I do. Whatever. So my mom's crazy. And so I remember when we were a kid, she was even more crazy. I don't know how. But so my mom is like front of the line, excited, arms up in the air, like center of attention, always screaming, always hooting and hollering is how I would describe it. And so I remember we went, it was Steel Phantom, it was open. And this is when the loop was at the end. Do you guys remember that? You remember the loop at the end of the Steel Phantom? This is before the Phantom's Revenge. This is the Steel Phantom. Yeah, my bad. So you guys don't even remember that because I'm too old. All right, whatever. All right, so I wore to Kennywood my Kennywood shoes. All right, some of y'all don't know what that means. Hugo, you don't know what that means, but you're about to know. All right, Kennywood shoes was a special shoe that made you a little bit taller than you were, all right? So you would just get a thicker sole that would make you a little bit taller so that you could actually ride the rides that you wanted to. And so I remember being like, I'm scared to ride the rides, and my mom said, shut up, we're buying you Kennywood shoes. And I'm like, okay. Well, she bought me these shoes, so I'm like literally like this much taller. And I'm like, all right. So we go up, and I'm like, I remember walking up to the Steel Phantom where they check you, they're just like this. They're like, are you this tall? Okay, cool. Like they check it. And I remember walking up and I remember feeling like, God, I hope I'm not tall enough. Like I am terrified to ride this ride. I really hope I'm not. And I remember I went up there and I stood like this. Like I was like knees bent. Like I was just like, all right. And he's like, go ahead, stand up straight. And I'm like, ugh. And I had just made it. I'm like, oh no. So I remember waiting in line and there was some older kids that were there and they're like, yeah, I heard someone died on this ride. I'm like, what? I'm terrified. I'm like, this is that, talk about uncertainty, talk about lack of conviction, all right? I'm like, I don't want to go on this ride. I don't care about this ride. I'm good. I don't want to go. And I remember being like, I'm not doing this, Mom. I can't do it. And so I remember I caused a scene, Joe. It was a scene. I started crying. I was like, I can't do this. I even did the kid bend where I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm so sorry. And so I walked over, that lame person that decides they don't want to ride and they have to walk over the ride to get out. That was me, all right? So then my mom rides it. I'm sitting there waiting for her and, the whole day goes. And I remember my mom was like, all right, Josh, what's one thing that you want? I'll get it for you if you ride the Steel Phantom. And I'm like, I want the big cookie. I want the big cookie. So we got the big cookie. I went and I got on the ride. I remember being terrified and I was just like, whatever. But I went on it and it was like, woo, 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 oh, like crazy. And it ended and I remember being like, whoa! It was insane, crazy. The loop was over the top. And so what I will say at the end of the ride is I went from uncertainty to certainty. I went from lack of conviction to full-on conviction. I became the biggest fan of the Steel Phantom. I started going around. I was preaching the gospel of the Steel Phantom, man. I was like, man, ye must ride. I was all excited. This was the greatest ride that I had ever been on in my entire life. So I'm telling everybody, literally, I'm at the park being like, you got to ride it. If you've ridden it yet, it's so good. We got to get back in line. My mom's like, calm down, dude. I'm like, we got to go again. I'm so excited for the Steel Phantom. And so, man, I just became the biggest, I was like, I got to get a shirt, man. I got to rep this. There was something about it. I had conviction about it. Why? Because I had a moment. I had an experience. Something that will trump doubt is experience. Something that will trump doubt every single time is a moment. Is a moment where you see that God came through. That God showed up here. God showed up in this situation and this moment and in this area. And so when I have doubt about this moment and this area, if I look back and remember how he was here, why would he not be the same? Our God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He is always consistent. And so if I've seen him be good, why would he not be good again? And so that's how I want to base this whole series off of, is that when we have doubt, God is always bigger. And God is always there. And God is always continual. And God always wants to be wrapped up right in it with you. And so, first things first, doubt is natural. All right? It's natural. Doubt is a very natural thing to have because here's the thing. We love to assume the worst. Right? We do. You know, even if you're a positive person, there's something about it, right? Like, I'm a very over-the-top positive person, yet there's still like, well, this could probably still go to heck. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm nervous. You know, there's still moments like that. Doubt is a very real thing, but it's natural. And I believe that unlocks a lot in our Christian faith when we know that this is a natural thing. Like, this is going to happen. This is a part of our biological makeup, that doubt is a part of our everyday walk. But also, doubt is not a bad thing. Having doubt is actually not a bad thing. Doubt is something that, like, we talk about, like, temptation, right? We talk about temptation being like this big scary word where it's like, man, I'm tempted to do things that I shouldn't do. Well, temptation's not a sin. You know what I mean? Doubt is not a sin. Doubt, temptation is not something that's wrong. It's what you do with it is what can become wrong. Because doubt, when it starts to fester, can become something lethal, can become something hardening to your heart. But doubt is not a bad thing. I want to get that into your head and into your soul. Doubt is not a bad thing. Doubts lead to growth if you let it. Doubt will lead to actual growth if you will let it. Because when you start to ask questions, it's when you become a little bit stronger. It's when you don't ask the questions is when you start to fester and go a little bit deeper into what you're thinking. When you start to say things out loud, it becomes a little bit like when I remember when I was, running a college ministry, we would have these small groups, and the big part of the small group session, it was like little 15-minute sessions where people would get into like 4 or 5 people and kind of just talk it out and stuff like that. And my mindset was I just want young people to start talking. I want them to start saying things out loud, because most of the time when we start actually saying stuff out loud, we start to realize how silly it truly is. Like, we start to talk about our doubts. We start to talk about our anxiety, our pain, or this or that. And when we start to open up about it, we go, you know what? It's actually not that big of a deal now that I'm saying it out loud. It's really not that big of an issue. When something comes out, when we start to say things out loud, it becomes a little bit less daunting than it was before. And so I believe that when we take our doubts and use it for the right thing and do it the right way, then it leads to growth every single time. God's not scared of your doubts. God's not up in heaven going, I can't believe he believes that. I can't believe he thinks that. I can't believe he thinks that about that. No. I think that God is literally like edge of it, just going, wait until I prove it. Wait until I prove that your doubts are not correct. Wait until I prove that what you think, the worst thing that can happen, my best thing will happen in your life. There's something beautiful about that. Like, he's earnestly waiting for you. Like, the Bible says that the earth is literally his footstool. So he's literally lounging back on the couch, like all of the problems of the world are literally at his feet. Come on. What can't he handle? So he can handle your doubts. He can handle your questions. He can handle those things. God isn't angry with your questions. Ask your questions. Bring your questions to God. I've had countless conversations with people in this room and people throughout ministry where they're literally just saying like I feel this, I feel that, I'm anxious about this, I'm angry at God about this, I'm angry with this, and this. This happened, or they took this away, or I wanted this and it just didn't happen. Why is God not giving me what it is that he told me that I would get? And the first thing I always say is like, man, yell at God about it. Go ahead. Start talking to God about it. Start asking him more questions. Start speaking to him a little bit more, because when you speak it out loud, peace starts to invade. Peace starts to show up in your situation. But when you shut up, peace has no room to move. When you begin to cut off the conversation between you and God, things start to fester. Your thoughts become reality. Your thoughts become truth. Your thoughts and your pain and your doubt become what you think is truly real. But when you open the line of communication, there's something about it. Come on, y'all. I know some of you girls, when you were in college, you called your mom. It was the worst day ever. You called your mom. You went, Mom, When you started to say it out loud, Mom, this happened, Mom, this happened, Mom, this happened. Your mom just goes, okay, yeah, she's just on the other line doing whatever. Probably doing the dishes. She's like, okay, cool. And then by the end of the conversation, you're like, all right, I'm good. I'm good now. What did she really do? Truly nothing. But there's something about the power of the Holy Spirit when you are in these moments, where you start to say it out loud, when you start to have conversation. When you start to say, God, this is how I feel. God, this is the question that I have. God, this is the hurt that I'm feeling. God wants to meet you in those moments. So he wants to meet you in your doubt. That's who he is. He's a good God like that. I love that. And so there's this guy in the Bible that I want to talk about. His name was Asaph. All right? Everybody say Asaph. Come on, Asaph Rocky, my boy. All right. And so Asaph was this dude that was like, he's not really talked about in the Bible. He doesn't have his own book. It's not like we're turning to Asaph Rocky 1-3. You know, like he didn't have his own book. He didn't have anything like that. But David, and we all know David, right? You know, dance naked in the streets, you know, like, you know, crazy stuff like that. Like he worshiped God so hardcore that his clothes flew off. Like that's pretty insane worship, bro. Like I go hard, but I ain't going that hard. You know what I mean? Like I just picture Paris up here on the keys and his clothes fly off. That's a bit much. It's a bit much. He's like, yeah, his shirt comes off. You know, like this is how David was, man. He was just crazy. And so dancing in the street. So literally, this guy David is writing this music. All right, beautiful music. He writes majority of the Psalms, and there's this other guy that he brings on. He goes, all right, we can collab a little bit, you know. I'll put you on, might give you your own track. Let's go, you know. I got all these Psalms. Like, this is a really long mixtape, all right? Like, we got a lot of Psalms going on here. So I want to get you on the track, all right? And so he brings in Asaph Rocky, and Asaph comes in, and Asaph starts laying down some stuff. He starts putting some stuff together, and like he starts writing some different Psalms. And if you read the Psalms, it is filled with questions. It is filled with, what the heck, God? Why is this happening? What is going on? Why is my enemy doing this? Why is this happening to me? Why is all this going on around me? Why? Boom, 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 boom. Why? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole thing, all right? And so he comes on the track, and then in Psalm 73, he comes on, he starts rapping, he starts talking about all these different things, and it literally goes, God, it starts off, it's like killer, it's a killer line. He's like, God, you got this, you're on top of the world, the whole world thinks you're amazing, you the man. But man, I'm slipping. I'm getting frustrated, I'm getting angry, and your boy's not all right. Like, I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed with everything that's going on in my life, but this is the biggest thing that has me frustrated. And he asks this question to God. He says, why does good things happen to bad people? Not bad things happen to good people. He says, no. Why is good things happening to bad people? And man, that's a question that, man, I don't know about you, but when I said yes to Jesus, I really did kind of think that life was going to be a little bit easier. Like I did. I kind of bought into that. I was like, man, I'm going to have Jesus, man. That means I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. I'm going to be like, you know, like, it's going to be awesome, like, all these different things. But we start to see that people around us that don't go to church, that don't pray, that don't have a faith walk, that would never pick up a Bible, would never do this, and this, we're seeing that they're prospering in life. We're starting to see that they have the money, they have this, they have that, and it's not all the time, but still, it's like, I'm busting my butt, and I'm trusting in God, but they're driving a range, man. Come on. This ain't cool. This ain't all right. I got this going. Like, I'm doing everything that I can, and we've been trying to have a child. We've been trying to have a baby. And we keep trying, and things just, we have miscarriage, and this is happening. But those two, they weren't even trying. They're not even married. And they have 2 babies. This ain't cool. This ain't all right. And so literally, he comes on the track and just starts to go, God, why is this happening? Help me get it. Help me understand it. Why is it constant that it seems like it's always better if I just wasn't serving you? Why does it seem like my life might be a little bit easier if I didn't have you in my life? Why does it start to feel like that? Well, let's just pause for a second and let's talk about that. First and foremost, that thought festering will knock you out. Right? You can talk back a little bit. Right? Like it will. It will. It'll knock you out. If you start to feel constantly that nothing good happens in your life and good only happens to those that aren't serving Jesus, you will start to go, it might be easier if I just did that. And it's not. We know that at the end of the day, it's not easier. We know that. In our heart of hearts, we know that that's not the easiest track. We know that. It might be easier in the short run, but in the long run, it is not going to be easy. And let me get real, okay? So that question, why does it seem like good things happen to bad people consistently? I want to tackle that question first and foremost. I don't know. No, I'm joking. It's I love that question because I think that it's a very honest question that all of us have had, where we start to feel like it's a little bit easier maybe if I just went this way and went down. But the thing is it's only temporal. The thing is they might have good and they might have things and they might have prosperity in the temporal, but when it comes to the eternal, they're lacking. When it comes to eternity, they don't have it. But when it comes to the short run, they have it. Well, the thing is this is not a short-term temporal thing. You are made for eternity. I don't know if you know that or not, but you are literally destined for eternity. And so it comes down to, do you want to have an impact in eternity on your own life, or do you want to have an impact in just temporal? Because here's the thing, fame, fortune, money, this, that, the American dream, all that different stuff, that's temporary, bro. That ain't gonna last. That's gonna burn up. You ever hear this? You can't bring it to heaven. You can't bring a U-Haul behind you. You can't. You can't take it to heaven with you. You can't take it to the afterlife with you. You can't have it. And so when we worry about the temporal being the basis of our thought process, man, we're limiting God. If I'm only worried about temporal, what's going on right in front of me as the basis of my faith, I have vastly underestimated God. But when I look at it through eternity, and I go, man, this blip right now, this 1 month where I'm struggling with this, and that, and I'm looking over the fence at what they have and what they're doing and what's happening over here. When I choose to do that, all that is doing, they don't care. All it's doing is wrecking me. And all it is messing with me. Because here's the thing, and I've had to pump myself full of this. But the thing is God isn't always going to give me abundantly and over the top and flowing to the point where I'm like, man, I got so much money, man. I got so much stuff. This is awesome. No. But he is always going to give me what I need. He's always going to give me exactly what I need. He's always going to show up right at the right time, and he's going to do exactly what it is. In the 4 years that me and Anna have been together, we have seen abundance, and we've seen lack, but we've always seen just enough. We've always seen it. And it's been so cool to watch God move because God is not worried about your temporal. He's worried about your eternal. Because in the temporary, if we can wiggle a little bit and feel like we're overwhelmed and we can get to this place where it impacts the actual eternity of things, man, he'll do that every single time. Why would he not put you in that moment? That moment where you have to trust God, where you have to lean on him. And so the doubts that you have, bring them on. And so he goes on, and in Psalm 73:16, he says this, when I tried to understand all of this, it troubled me deeply. Sounds familiar, right? When I started to think more about it, when I started to dwell on it a little bit more, I got to this place where it was troubling me deeply. And then in the next verse it says, till I entered the sanctuary of God, then I understood their final destiny. I felt this way, but then I went to God about it. And I saw what the deepness was. I saw what the truth was. Now, is that answer conducive to what we really want to hear? No. Is that answer give you the utmost, now I finally get it? No. That's where faith comes in. That's where faith comes in. If you can literally have a meter where it's okay, I have doubt on this side and I have faith on this side. I don't think that it should be faith all the way up here and doubt all the way down here. No, I think that it's a constant, you know what? My faith is a little bit stronger than my doubt today. Oh, my doubt's a little bit stronger. Well, God, I got to get in your presence today. And I got to get with you because I need to make sure my faith is above that doubt level, because I need to see that you are clearly in the picture and you are clearly a part of the situation. And so when I started to dwell on this, when I started to think more about these questions that were frustrating me, what happened? The more frustrated I got, the more angry that I got, the more, God, why is this happening? The more angry and overwhelmed and things are going on. Why is this happening? God. What's my answer? Well, I don't have it. I don't have the answer. So I'm going to go to the place where I can find not the answer, but peace. You're not seeking an answer. You're seeking peace. I don't know if you realize that yet or not. But you're not seeking an answer. You're actually seeking peace. I need it. I need to know in my heart of hearts and my soul that this is what is correct. I need to know. I don't need a right answer. I don't need the answer. I need peace. That's actually what I need. And that's where faith comes in. And that's what's beautiful about it. So he goes to the sanctuary. He goes into the presence of God. He fights a little bit differently. Some of you, you're going through something and you keep not going to God when God is the answer to your situation more than anything else. Well, I just need to think about it more. What? No. Go to God. Like, well, maybe if I didn't, no. Maybe if I talked to 10 more people about it. Shut up. Go to God. Like, seriously. Like, that's what starts to happen. And so you can allow doubt to fester, or you can allow peace to invade. You can leave doubt to fester, or you can allow peace to invade your situation. That's what's so beautiful about our God. And so bring your doubts to God just like Asaph. Bring your doubts to God, your struggles, your overwhelmingness. Bring it to God. Do you remember how I said at the beginning, it's going to sound so simplistic, but it's going to be the most impactful thing ever? The simplicity is it's kind of like scary how simple it is. But if you want peace, God's got it. If you want peace, you can't just dwell on your own and do it yourself. You got to take it to this amazing Father. That's how simplistic it is. But how hard is that? Like, seriously, how hard is that? And man, if I'm the enemy, I'm loving that. Yeah, keep thinking to yourself, man. Allow your thoughts. Like we think like the devil's coming up and being like, I want to tempt you with this, this, and this. It's like, no, your thoughts are doing enough. Like, your thoughts are doing enough, man. So he lets you go. But what if we could truly, truly, truly say, God, I want peace into my situation. Oh, God, I want to run to you in this situation. So bring your doubts to God just like Asaph. Bring your doubts to him every single time. This whole thing isn't easy. This whole doubt thing. As I was putting this together, I'm like, there's been so many times that I've distinctively doubted God. I remember probably the biggest moment that I really was struggling. I remember, so I went to school to become a pastor, like youth ministry and stuff like that. And so I came home and I got a job as a junior high youth pastor. Fun. It's crazy. I was 19. Living an insane life with just 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, like literally. And I lived in a town where literally like 70 of my kids all were in walking distance. So my office after school was just filled with kids. Like, it was awesome. And so that was my life. And I remember being like, this is awesome, but they go, hey, sorry, we can't pay you anymore. I'm like, well, this sucks. The whole $300 you were giving me every 2 weeks, can't spring for it anymore. Cool. It's moving on. And so I remember I was like, God, like I came here. Like I knew what you wanted me to do. And God, I'm just like, why would you take this away from me? I love this. And I remember I'm like trying to find another job and I'm interviewing at churches and things aren't happening. And I'm like, oh, geez, man. All right. So I took a job at Journey's Shoes. You clap for that. God. And so I worked at Journeys selling Osiris's to kids like Will, and it was awesome. I made a lot of money doing that. It was fun, and so it was a good time. And all I know is a lot of people loved back in 2011 to buy G-Shocks, man. They loved G-Shocks back then. I made a lot of commission off of selling G-Shocks, bro. Different colors, different, it didn't matter. I want those shoes, and I want that watch to match that shoe. All right, here we go. Here's your Osiris's and your G-Shock. All right, so that was my life, and I remember I started, Dave Hardy spoke here a couple weeks ago. I went and started serving with him and was a part of his ministry for a little while. And then I was like, all right, there was a church that I went to when I was younger that I get better, babe, I swear. I'm joking. All right, I was just joking. I've kind of been waiting for that joke for a really long time. All right, so, but I remember I was like, all right, so when I came home from college, I wanted to work for this church that I went to when I was in high school. And I interviewed for it, and they were like, you're not the guy. And I remember being like, what guy do you want then? Because I am the guy. Like, come on. Like, I meant that too. So I was like, all right. So now I went and worked for this other church. And then I went and helped out Dave Hardy at his church. And then I was working at Journey Shoes, doing all this stuff. So now it's about 2.5 years later, and they hired a youth pastor, and things didn't go as they wanted. And so he left, and now they're looking 2.5 years later for another youth pastor. And so I go, God, this is where I'm supposed to be. Still felt it. So I go, and I literally put in, the application again and talk to them, and we sit down, and, and the conversation is just like, just like, like, is it going well? I don't know. Like, but I feel like I want to be here. Do I really feel like I meshed with the pastor? I don't know, but I feel like I need to be here. Is this exactly where I want to be? I don't know, but I feel like I need to be here. So I remember being like, all right, this is the egg. I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, all right? So at this time, this is where things start to get crazy. There was a girl that was working with me who was the assistant manager at Journeys, and she was stealing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. And so I didn't know this. And so come find out that, she stole a lot of stuff, to the point where they were like, we got to fire you, bro. Like, she stole so much stuff and you didn't even know. And I'm like, my bad. Like, I didn't know. I really didn't. All right, my bad. So I got fired. And I remember being like, obviously this sucks. And so I went and I put in for unemployment. So I'm like, God. I went to school for youth ministry. And now I'm just sitting at home hoping unemployment comes through. Like, what the heck? This is not good. Like, I remember being just so frustrated. And so I had this interview with Wildwood, and I just, I felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I had a couple other interviews, and one was kind of an offer, and one was like, hey, come out and check it out. And I was like, God, I know that I'm supposed to be at this church. So I said no to everyone else, even though I felt like it was probably going to be a no at that church. And so this is what's crazy. 8 months go by. 8 months, bro. We interviewed. I interviewed again the next month. They said, let's meet with the board the next month. Oh, hey, I want you to meet with this one board member the next month. Oh, hey, our children's pastor can't be there tonight. Can you come and run the kids ministry? Oh, yeah. That's the next month. Month after, they're like, hey, come speak at youth. I came and spoke at youth. It was awesome. The next month, it's just like, what is going on? Give me the job. 8 months go by. Jeez. And then it's about 5 months now at this point. And they sit down, and the pastor goes, are you ready to come to this church? You ready to be here? I'm like, yeah. Been waiting 5 months. Yeah, let's go. Let's get it going. And he's like, are you really ready? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, we don't feel like you're the guy. That's literally how it went. I'm not kidding. He's like, I really feel like you're not the guy. And I stood up and I looked at him and I said, I am the guy. And I know that I'm the guy. And so I'm going to ask that you would go to the Lord one more time in prayer and that you would figure that out. That's about 4.5 months in, maybe 5, something like that. So now, I'm still jobless, and I know from God that I'm supposed to be at this church that just told me no. Talk about doubt. God, you told me this, but it's not lining up. It's not making sense. Like, what the heck? Like, this is not good. So I remember being there and being like frustrated, and I'm just like, ah. And I remember there was one distinctive night where I pulled over, and I'm on the side of the road. And I remember I pulled over to the side of the road, and I was just so angry. And I remember I punched the steering wheel. Don't punch the steering wheel. It's awkward. It sucks. But I punched the steering wheel like literally as hard as I could. And I remember just tears and anger is flowing from me. And I'm just like, God, why would you say this? Why would you tell me I'm supposed to be there? Now I'm missing out on this and that. And like, God, I feel like a literal failure. Like, why am I in this? Why? I remember being just so mad at God. And like, man, my language is a little bit more crazier back then, and I was a little bit more loose with God. So I said some F-bombs. I said some angries. I was mad. And now the next day, a month and a half later, 6 weeks later, this pastor calls me up and goes, hey man, can you come meet me in my office today? And I go, no, you can meet me at a coffee shop in my town. I'm 30 minutes away. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll make that happen. All right. See you there. What time? Cool. I was like, I refused to even go to his office. So we meet up. And this is out of the blue. Like, we haven't talked in like 3.5 months. We go there, finally meet up, and he goes, I talked it over with the board. And the board strongly advised, and after a lot of prayer, I have come to the conclusion that you are the man for this job. I want to extend to you the invitation to be the youth pastor at our church. And even in this moment, everything in my soul said, say no. I was like, man, pride was just, ugh. I took the job. And we saw obnoxious amounts of fruit. We saw God move. I still can't, I was there for 3.5 years and saw true impact, and it's even rippled even to this room. You know, we've seen God do a lot of stuff through what happened there, but what if I allowed my doubt to take over? What if I allowed my doubt to be the basis of my thoughts? What if I allowed my doubts in what I saw in front of me be the basis of my responses? No, I knew what God said. And I said, you know what? Even though I am doubting you, and even though I'm not seeing a clear way, even though it's not lining up, even though nothing makes sense, even though I'm still having questions, even though I'm literally yelling at God in the car on the side of the road, even though all these things are happening, God still brought peace. God still brought truth to the situation. He wasn't scared. He wasn't frustrated. He wasn't angry. He chose to still show up in my situation, man. And like, your doubt might not look like that, but you do have doubts. And I love that he will meet you exactly where you're at. You know, the Bible says so clearly, seek and you shall find. You cannot find if you do not seek. You cannot find if you do not choose to look and to find. So seek and you shall find. Amazing. Seek and you will find. Boda, I need my next notes, buddy. I'm sorry. There you go. All right. And so, 3 things that I want you to hear before we get out of here. My response to doubt is important. Your response to doubts and things that are going on, it's very important. And the more that you choose to actually respond, I'm not even saying correctly. I'm giving you the outs to not respond the Christian way that you're supposed to. No, I'm saying just respond. How you respond is going to be the basis. But if you do not do anything, if your response is just, well, I'm going to keep it in and just deal with it myself, you're not going to see growth. You're not going to move forward. That's why it's so important what your response actually is. You know, and we won't get there unless we allow God in to the situation. Doubt drives me to do what? It drives me to study and to seek resolution. Doubt should allow me to go, you know what? I need to study the Word of God. The answers are actually found in that book. Crazy, right? Like, it's actually crazy that the love letter that he wrote to you is where you're going to find everything that you actually need. But when I seek that, that's when I start to see, like, because when you read the Bible, you start to realize that your ways are not his ways, that your thoughts are not his thoughts. Like, you start to see that a little bit more clearly, a little bit more openly. But also, doubt and prayer need to be best buds. When I have doubt, I need to coincide with prayer. I need to bring this up to God. I need to say, God, I need you. God, I don't know what it is, but I got to have it. Like, God, I don't know what I don't know, but I do know that I need you, that I need this peace. And so I'm not going to get it until I actually go to you in prayer. What do I say? Just start talking. Well, how do I say it? Just start saying it. You don't have to have an outline. You don't have to have a perfect flow. You just have to be open and raw and honest and say, God, I doubt you. I doubt this. Why does everybody else have this? You know how many times that me and my wife have looked at each other knowing that our son is struggling with autism, and we literally look at each other and go, why is this happening to us? Why is this happening to him? What about this family? We do that. We play the comparison game. Yeah. When you start to play the comparison game, you start to doubt even more. You know that, right? But we look at each other and we literally just have to, one day it's me reminding her, the next day it's her reminding me. But it's this constant of just going, I have doubts and I have frustrations and I have anger towards God. But when I bring that up to him and I talk it through with him, he always reminds me of what real is and what truth is. Trust in the Lord. Can you put that on the screen? Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. We can keep going. Seek his will in all that you do, and he will show you which path to take. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Then you will have healing for your body and strength for your bones. Go back to the first verse. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and do not depend on your own understanding. My ways are not his ways. My thoughts are not his thoughts. I'm a mess, man. You ever think about that? Like, it's like, I don't want to lean on my own understanding. I don't want to lean on what I feel is correct or right. Like, no, I want to back it up with the peace of God. I want to back it up with who this God really truly is. I don't want to lean on my own understanding. I want to lean on God himself. And so when you have doubts, give it to God. Grow to God. Ask him. Speak out loud. Say it to him. Say, God, I'm struggling with this. God, this ain't adding up. This ain't making sense. Get open and raw and real.